Thanks for joining me today on Ashley's Kitchen. I'm going to do something a little risky today, which is really not that unusual. I'm going to make a new recipe, but I'm also going to modify it in several ways. So we'll just see how it turns out. Ashley, this is a crock pot recipe, and I know you told me that you were interested in crock pot recipes so that you could just let them go and they'd be ready when you needed them. This is called Vietnamese sweet and sour beef. Okay, so the first modification that I'm making is I don't have beef on hand that I want to use for this. So what I did have, I have a kielbasa style sausage that I'm going to use instead. So we'll see how that goes. So my pan has been heating, and I'm going to turn it down, put a little bit, I'm going to let that cool down a little bit. I'll add some oil in a little bit when it's cooler, and I'm going to cut this, and this is pre-cooked, so I'm not cutting raw meat on here and then going to mix it with my vegetables. It's already cooked. So I'm going to cut this in about 1/2-inch slices. And if this works, of course, then you can do this recipe with sausage, kielbasa style sausage, or you could use the beef like it actually calls for. And what it calls for specifically is 2 pounds of round steak. And then what you do is you cut it up into, for the round steak, it says 1-inch pieces. Put a little oil in your pan and then brown it. Okay? One thing that I like if I'm going to do a crock pot recipe, I don't like to have to do a lot of prep before I actually put it in the crock pot. And I know sometimes you have to brown things just to get it the way you want it. There's something about browning it, gives it great flavor. So I am going to go ahead and brown this. I wouldn't have to, especially because this is pre-cooked. But I am going to brown it. I'm going to add a little bit of oil on here, and I'm going to brown this just to give it that nice brown flavor. Okay. Okay. And now, let me get that stirred a little bit. Hear that good sizzle, and we'll let that go for a little bit. Now, the nice thing about this recipe, that is all the pre-cooking that you have to do. Everything else is just cut up and put in the pot. Okay, so you ready for the next modification? It is almost supper time here today, so I actually don't have time for a crock pot meal. So I am going to do it in the oven. I know, I'm really changing it. Normally, this recipe requires 8 to 9 hours on low in your crock pot, which could be perfect for a day when you're going to be gone all day. Maybe you're going to work and you want something for supper ready when you get home. So we're going to try it in the oven. And there's even another element that adds another challenge. My daughter, Rebecca, has a souffle going in the oven. So I would normally bake this for about 350 for maybe an hour. We're going to go with her temperature of 375 and see what happens. So let's check our meat a little bit. We don't want it to over brown. Just get it nice, a little bit brown. Oh, it's looking good. And that's going to give it a nice, good flavor. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off so that we don't forget that while we're doing all of our other stuff. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. We're done with our oil. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. We want 2 cups of carrots sliced, and I'm not going to measure. Sorry, my glasses just fell down. I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to go for it. So I'm going to cut the ends off these. and show you a really neat thing about cutting carrots. Use my little scrap bowl. Okay, let me see if I can get where you can see this. Okay, when you cut carrots into rounds, if you notice, the carrot is smaller on this end than it is on this end. So how do you get uniform pieces? If you cut these like this, they're really small, they will cook really quickly. By the time you get to the end, especially if it's a carrot that's really big on the end, your pieces are so much bigger, they'll take a lot longer to cook. So to get a uniform slice of carrot, if you will make a half turn every time you slice, you can control the size of your carrot pieces, and you can very quickly make them almost uniform, which is a really neat little trick for cutting up carrots. So here we go. And I'm just going to cut, and when I'm done here, I'm just going to throw it in the pan. All right, so let's do that. Okay, next carrot. And I still have my meat sizzling in the back, but it's okay, I've turned it off. Should be fine. And do you see what I'm doing? Do you see what I mean by that half turn? And then you can control the size of your carrot the whole way through. We've got our carrots in the pan, in the dish, and the recipe calls for 2 cups of pearl onions. I didn't have that, so I'm substituting. A lot of times you can substitute if you don't have exactly what the recipe calls for. And if you don't know what to substitute, you can have fun guessing and just try it and see what happens. Or you can look online and look up a substitution for whatever it's calling for. And that's really helpful. So I'm just going to cut up this onion into kind of medium-sized chunks and add that to our carrots. So it won't be exactly like the recipe called for, but I think it'll be good and close enough for us. Sometimes if you have to go out and buy special ingredients, it's almost discouraging because you think, well, I don't have that, and I'm not going to take the time to go get it. A lot of times you can substitute with something you do have. Okay, now we need some green pepper, and I'm going to slice up this green pepper in little strips and give them a cut through a couple times. Okay. Oops, there's a bad spot right there. Let's cut that out. All right. So, if this works with the sausage, we will have Vietnamese pork, sweet and sour pork instead of beef. So we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so we've got our onions, our carrots, and our green pepper. And then we are going to put in, it calls for 2 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce. I have 1 can of, it's 15 ounces. So I'm just going to go with that. It's 1 ounce short, but I think that's sufficient. Okay, and then it also calls for 2 large ripe tomatoes. Well, I didn't have that on hand either. So I have a can of diced tomatoes, and I drained a lot of the juice off so that I wouldn't be adding something that different. So I'm just putting in some diced tomatoes in place of the 2 tomatoes that it called for. And then, let's see, here we go with some of the sweet. I was curious what gave it the sweet and sour, because I don't make a lot of dishes sweet and sour, so I didn't really know. And I think we're coming up to some of this stuff. It calls for a half cup of molasses. So, oh, I like molasses. The smell is so good. So good. So that's very interesting. We'll see how that turns out. A half cup of molasses in here. And then it also calls for a third cup of vinegar, and it doesn't specify what kind of vinegar. So I'm going to use the apple cider vinegar and hope it's the right one. I think you'd be safe with either this or probably white vinegar, but this has a little bit more health benefits to it. So we're going to go with a third cup of the apple cider vinegar. So there's your sour with the sweet and sour. And then a fourth cup of sugar. So I'm going to try maple syrup instead of the sugar, because I really don't like putting all that sugar into my food, especially a main meal. And I know sometimes you almost have to get the right flavor, but we're going to see what this maple syrup does. Should be a little bit healthier, or a lot healthier actually, than the refined white sugar. And this is looking good. Can you see that? You need to try to see that. It's looking good. So you just mix that up, and we need a teaspoon of salt, and we can't forget our paprika, a teaspoon of paprika also, which paprika adds kind of a little bit of a smoky flavor. So that should be pretty interesting. Okay, we go with the paprika and some salt. And I like to use the pink Himalayan salt. And that is approximately a teaspoon. And that is it, other than our meat. So I'm going to stir this up. Get a little bit bigger spoon here. I'm going to stir this up. And hopefully you can see it a little bit without my spilling it, hopefully. I'm going to stir this up, and then we'll add our meat kind of last minute and give it one more stir. I think this could be good. We'll see how it turns out. Get that all incorporated in there, because we want our sweet and our salty to be mixed throughout. And I think Rebecca's souffle is done. Let me check on her souffle, and then we get the oven all to ourselves, which would be actually really nice. Oh my goodness, you need to see this. And it smells wonderful too. I wish you could smell it. Look at that. Let me bring that over there so you can see it. Look at that souffle. This is a new recipe. She loves to make souffles, but this is one she hasn't made before, and it was really quick and easy, so we weren't sure what was going to happen. So that is beautiful. And then I think she's going to add some fruit on top of that, and a little bit more white chocolate. I am going to reduce this down now, since I have the oven all to ourselves. I'm going to reduce it down to 350, because that's where I'm more comfortable baking this for an hour. Now, let's add in our meat that we've browned over here. That looks good. It smells so good. Wow. Wish you could smell it. Okay. This makes a nice dish. If it turns out, this would be nice to serve for company even. Okay. And I'm going to stir the meat in. And then I'm going to put a lid on this, because I thought if it's supposed to be in a crock pot has a lid. So I thought in the oven, maybe I should have a lid on it too. So get that all stirred. And hopefully it's incorporated well enough. You know, I think you could, if you're at home during the day, while you put this in the crock pot, I think you could open it once or so and give it a little stir. But every time you open your crock pot, you lose that heat. So you really don't want to do it much at all. Okay. So we've got it in the oven for an hour, and then we'll check it and see how it turns out. It's been an hour now, so let's check to see how it's doing. It's sizzling, that's good. Since our meat was cooked, the main thing we want to do is just make sure the vegetables are soft. And had we done it in a crock pot, like the recipe called for that length of time on low, they should be plenty done. Let's check it out. Very hot. And I don't know that you can see that, but it looks really tasty with all the vegetables. Very juicy. This would be nice served over rice even, maybe. Or you could do some cabbage with some roasted cabbage would be nice with some oil and vinegar dressing maybe. Okay, so let's put a little bit out on a bowl so we can let it cool a little, and I'll check how the vegetables are. Okay, the carrots are not done. So you can either eat it like this, which I don't mind if my vegetables are a little crispy, but this was a good learning experience because it's going to take more than an hour for these vegetables to get soft. But you know what? We can taste the sauce anyway. That's good. It's really hot, so it's hard to get a really good taste when it's hot.
Are we having hot dogs for supper?
No, we're not having hot dogs for supper.
Does it have hot dogs in it?
No, and thanks for joining us today on Ashley's Kitchen. Right behind you, why don't you wave and say hello to the... So that's tasty. I think the sauce is turning out good. It's very nice with the sausage, with the kielbasa. I don't know how it will be with the beef, but the kielbasa is very good. So I'm going to stick this back in the oven, see if I can get those vegetables a little bit more tender. What I've done is I've bumped up the temperature because we need to eat soon, and our carrots weren't quite soft, so I bumped up the temperature. It's heating up to 400 degrees now. And I actually have a little bit of cabbage. So let's do some cabbage to serve with our main dish. I put some olive oil on this pan, and I'm just brushing it around. And check this cabbage out. Let's do some small wedges of cabbage. Set it right in our olive oil on our baking dish. And this should be really good with our sweet and sour pork. My oven just got to 400. Okay. So I'm going to season this with some olive oil and some vinegar and some salt and pepper, and then just for a little bit of hint to our main dish, I'm going to use some paprika. Okay, so can you see that? Just some small cabbage wedges, and I'm going to start them with the olive oil drizzle. All right. And that should be tasty. Okay. And then some vinegar again to go with our sweet and sour. If you don't like vinegar, you're probably not going to like this dish tonight. All right, and some salt. And pepper. Okay, and a little bit of paprika for color and to, again, mirror our main dish. So, I'm going to put this in the top of the oven above our main dish while that's baking. So, we'll be back. Here it is, the final product with the cabbage wedge and our Vietnamese sweet and sour pork. I ended up putting the broiler on a little bit to get the cabbage done nicely, and it's still very hot, but it creates a really nice presentation. So, hope you try it out and have success with yours.